Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Open. Boundless Theater Company presents Imperfecta Invisible, a one woman musical that tells the story of a plus size woman's dream of becoming a rock star sensation. Imperfecta Invisible tackles fat phobia, misogyny, while giving representation to marginalized bodies. And here to share more are Imperfecta Invisible actress, singer, songwriter, and writer Nancy Millan and director Ismanuel Rodriguez. Hello and welcome.
Hi,
Hi,
how
how
are
are you?
you?
Thank you for being here with us. Están en Puerto Rico, ¿verdad?
Yes,
Sí.
sí.
Well, we look forward to having you come to New York, and congratulations on this run. I know it's been a while in the making. And so I would like to start with you, Nancy, and in your journey to getting to this place of having I want to say the audacity to just put it out there in your own way and really being a stand for marginalized individuals.
Well, yeah, it's been a long journey. Actually, I started working with this theme 20 years ago. I was very young. I was like 5. No. um, and
I got it. I got it. We were delayed, but we got
and yeah, I started working with this idea of invisibility. I was living in New York actually, and I was struggling like so many people. And then I started meditating about representation, which was not a subject that was so talked about at that moment. Um, and I started thinking about that. So I started writing, and I wrote a show at that time that was called Mujer Invisible. Uh, so this is a new version of Mujer Invisible because things have changed a lot in 20 years,
right,
especially with the Me Too movement. Actually, the fat phobia movement that term did not exist
right.
20 years ago. And we didn't have social media, so and we have incorporated all of this in the show.
And you made it into a musical, and you're a rock star.
Yeah, it was a musical originally.
Okay.
So we created new
Still.
songs, and we have some old songs, and
All right. So, Ismanuel, thank you for being here with us. And I know you're directing this piece, and I know you've worked with Boundless Theater. I mean, perhaps you want to give us a little background on Boundless Theater and all the fabulous work that you guys do, and why you chose this particular play to bring to Julia de Burgos Cultural Center.
Thank you for inviting me, Rihanna. Well, this is the second time that I worked with the fabulous actress Nancy Millan. So I think right now this message that she's bringing to the audience is very important. I'm moved by her sensibility. I'm moved by her honesty, and this is just a prize for me to work with her and work with what her message to the audience. And yes, this is my third time, I think, or my fourth time working with Bowland Theater in New York. And as a Puerto Rican living in the island, it's very important to be connected with the diaspora, and I'm really, really happy that Boundless chose me for this project. Just because keep me in touch with those Puerto Ricans that are out of the island, I can just learn about them and grew up with them.
Right. No, this is wonderful, and thank you guys for doing this interview in English. I mean, you know, if you feel the need to have to speak Spanish, it's okay. We just got to translate it. However, you know, I know you're over there in Puerto Rico speaking in Spanish predominantly, pero I appreciate you making sure that we're communicating in English. So I want to acknowledge you for that. And with that said, Nancy, you know, I went through your bio, and you have a really extensive bio, and you've worked with some really big names out there, and I just wonder what that's been like for you to work with certain individuals and see them kind of like their careers take off in whatever, in their respective areas of expertise, television or what have you. Feel free to mention the names if you choose to. But I just wonder what that's been like for you having written this particular piece to kind of bring it into the forefront of how there's a stereotype that still exists.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there's a line in the show that where I say that usually, big girls or fat girls are can only play like the secretary of the thing successful
Mm-hmm.
woman. and and actually I have played that character in a Lifetime movie that I did with Vanessa Marcel, which was a lot of fun to do, and I loved it. I love doing that. It was It's not a problem. But the thing is, like it would be lovely to see more leading actresses that looked in a more diverse way.
Right.
Women of all shapes and sizes and colors and backgrounds. We all have stories that are worth telling. Um, and that and and that is the problem, like when our stories are not told. um,
Mm-hmm.
we are making a disservice to society.
Right.
There's something missing,
Right.
so I'm trying to tell mine.
Right. No, it's great. It's great. And you're right. It does matter. It matters because if it makes a person feel a certain kind of way about themselves, whether it's recognized or not, it does play on a person's self-esteem. Because if they're not seeing their own or their type or anything that represents them, it makes them
Mm-hmm.
question themselves. And so it's like a repetitive cycle of just shaming is what
Yeah,
we're discussing right now.
Sure.
I think was it Michelle Obama who said that if you cannot see it, you cannot dream it.
Right.
I think it was her, right? And yes, when I heard her say that, I'm like, oh, yes, that was my struggle all, growing up. Like I had all these dreams, but then I was like, can I do this? Because I'm not seeing people who look like me in these positions. So
So
it's a struggle for a lot of people still.
it is, and that's why you wrote the piece for yourself, and you're in the forefront in every aspect of it, which is another factor, right? Because now you got to put in extra work to make sure that you create it so that it is visible, even though your piece
Yeah.
is actually considered invisible, or it's titled invisible in English, that is. So,
Yeah.
Ismanuel, what should we expect in this rendition of Imperfecta Invisible?
Well, what I expect is that the audience had a lot of fun and keep the message with them. Keep the message with them. We have to do something with that what you have been sharing right now to have more representation of diversity um, in television, on social media, and etc. So I wanted to people keep the message and be moved like me with the what Nancy haven't done.
And so, Nancy, what is that? Because I understand that while it's geared towards this specific messaging of fat phobia and or stereotypes, I understand that it actually resonates with people of different ethnicities, of different circumstances, possibly even special needs, right? Because the true conversation that's being had is the trending term diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes, absolutely. I think, like I said, this is a new version of a show that I started doing 20 years ago. And throughout the story of La Invisible, um, so many people have come to me to tell me I have been invisible, and I've men, women, people from the LGBTQ plus community. I think anybody who has never been represented or feels underrepresented can identify with this story. I think the personal is universal and the universal is personal. So I am sure that whoever, you don't have to be a big girl or a big person to come and enjoy this show. I can only talk about myself because that's my experience, but I think it's universal. It's
Yeah.
that subject of equity and diversity.
Yes, yeah, and so that being said, just so the audience is aware, I understand that the presentation will be done in Spanish but translated in English. You have like an automated system that's going to translate it in English. So let's just talk about that and what that experience is going to be like for non-Spanish speaking individuals.
So we're gonna have super titles. So
Yeah.
whoever, if you don't speak Spanish, you can read the super titles, and
So there's going to be an
music.
automated system with actual subtitles that are happening
Yeah.
while you're performing.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Yes. Even the songs.
And the songs too?
Yeah.
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 Now, one of the things I love about Boundless Theater is that they really make the theater itself a magical experience. Is the seating going to be traditional or is it a surprise? Because it's always a surprise with Boundless Theater. They really utilize that space in a really magical way.
It is a surprise always with Boundless. Exactly. No, it will be a surprise again. It should be a surprise. Theater should be a surprise experience. So, yeah, there will be a little bit of people will be inside, kind of inside of the set, and Nancy will be with them also.
All right, you gave us a little bit. No, which is
Just a
great.
little bit, yeah.
No, because what I'm hearing is the audience is kind of part of the show.
Yeah, it is part of
Yeah.
the
No
show. It's
spoilers.
always
No
part of the
spoilers.
show. Exactly.
¿Qué dijo Nancy? ¿Qué dijiste?
No spoilers.
So, what would you like everybody to leave with before we end this interview? Is there a particular message that you would like to send to our viewers so that they understand how not only important it is for us to support our stories, but to also support our local theater companies, right? Because it's accessible, it's here, it's uptown. Even though it's in Spanish, it's a story that resonates with a lot of individuals. So, from your perspective in bringing it to New York, I would like to hear what your thoughts are in inspiring our viewers, let's say.
Oh, I don't even know what you want. Yeah, it's just come see us. You're gonna have a great time. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna think. You're gonna meditate. And there's music, and the music is a universal language. And also something really cool is that we are joining two New York musicians. I'm coming from Puerto Rico with the guitarist and the musical director, Jomel Rivera, but we're gonna meet a drummer and a bass player that are from New York. The bass player is a lady. So we're very excited. And again, music is universal, and yes, we need to support small theaters and small companies, and help them grow.
Thank you, Ismanuel. Before we go,
Yeah, all Latinos in New York, you have to come and see what Nancy, her performance is very touched. So come to Boundless Theater, support Latino theater in New York. We need you.
yes, we need to support our stories, and we thank you for bringing it here on Open, everyone. Nancy Millan and Ismanuel Rodriguez, they are representing the show Imperfecta Invisible that is playing now through July 23rd at Julia de Burgos Performance and Arts Center, which is located at 1680 Lexington Avenue between 105th Street and 106th Street. For tickets and more information, you can visit boundlesstheater.org. Stay tuned. Our Open Artist Spotlight is coming up next.